Call this meeting of New Iberia City Council to order. We have the prayer and the pledge led by Councilman Raymond Lewis.
All heads bowed. Heavenly Father, we come this evening to give you thanks, honor, and glory. Heavenly Father, we pray for wisdom and knowledge and understanding. As our city transforms with the young and the old, and the new, and everyone, ask for peace throughout our city, with our young people as well as the old, that God will lead them and guide them in a straight path to do no one harm, or for even us to inflict harm on ourselves, because we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven if we do such thing to ourselves that will end our lives. We ask the young people, and we pray for the young people to be patient and just do the right thing. It's so simple in life to do the right thing. And God, we pray for guidance as we undertake dealing with Caesar's law here tonight. Caesar's law, and the Bible speaks clearly, render and tells us render unto Caesar what Caesar is due. But be also mindful that for those who believe and trust in God, that you are first in all our dealings and business dealings, and to try as you would want us to keep things decently and in order. This I pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Natalie Robin.
Present.
Councilmember Peggy Jarrett.
Present.
Councilmember Robert Swear.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember David Merrill.
Here.
Councilmember Raymond Lewis.
Present.
And Councilmember Calvin Begno.
Here.
Mayor Curry, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we have public comment. I would ask everyone to please put their phones on vibrate. This is not a discussion with the council. It's your opportunity to express your concerns and interests on any particular agenda item. And I have two individuals who have completed cards. The first is Sandra George, and she wants to address agenda item 5D. And this is a resolution concerning the speed bumps within the city of New Iberia.
Madam Clerk, you can set your time.
I have it. I'll do that.
You have it.
Yeah, I'll do both.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Curry and council members. I'd like to thank you on behalf of Back Manila Garden Apartments for allowing me to speak on behalf of Deborah Nat, the manager, who could not be here this evening. On behalf of the management company of Back Manila Garden Apartments, I have a letter that I would like to read to you from the owner of the property. It states that, "Dear Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, I'm forwarding this letter to you in support of the resolution to install speed bumps on the streets that run through our property, Back Manila Garden Apartments. Our property will benefit greatly from installation of these critical safety features. We have 346 dependent children on our property, not counting the elderly and the disabled. There are occasions where children have crossed the street without checking traffic and to make sure there were no cars speeding. There are only 4 stop signs in our area that cars routinely will speed, as they approach them, and in some cases, drive through them. Some years ago, a speeding car struck and killed someone visiting the property. And only 2 weeks ago, a child was struck crossing the street at the bus stop. We believe that the speed bumps would slow traffic along our streets and help increase the safety of the neighborhood. I would like to thank the mayor and the council for their consideration of this item and hope that it meets with your approval. As always, please feel free to contact the owner or Back Manila if you have any questions or concern. Again, thank you. Sincerely, Edmund Johnson, Managing Member, A&E Property Holdings, General Partners. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to address the council, we appreciate you taking the time to come this evening.
Thank you.
The next person to address the council this evening is Mr. Benjamin Myers, and it is concerning agenda item 5F, which is a resolution in support of sending a resolution for to the Planning and Zoning Commission to bring back mobile homes in R3.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Again, we back at the dance. You know, of course, I spoke against trailers, you know, and the reasons being we've stressed numerous times, so we don't have to go over those things. The Planning and Zoning Committee have also expressed their wishes, you know, when it comes down to trailers inside of the city. It still does affect the property value of adjacent properties or properties in the vicinity. And we also have loopholes in this. And for an example, what happens if a landowner has a large corner lot, like across the street from Mr. Swift's store, and he thinks he wants to make and subdivide the lot? What happens then when he becomes the adjacent landowner when it comes down to agreement to have this trailer placed in such a location? We have different situations that we're dealing with in our community. We know up in our area, we've worked hard to bring it up to standards and upgrade it. Houses, wood frame homes and brick homes and the likes thereof. They also right now have designated areas for trailers. All right, we not opposing, let's say, persons placing their trailers and not putting anybody who lives in a trailer down, but there are designated areas already for this. We can't afford to let, you know, a person lead us into taking and degrading the area of our community by placing a trailer every nook and cranny where it might fit, you know, kind of like turn us into a shanty town where we work hard to improve. This is not a cash cow. This tail that was tacked on to it, about $300 revenue, that's not a cash cow, to be honest with you. It would affect the revenue because, you know, when your property values go down, so does the city collection of property taxes, you know, so it really does, a dog just not gonna hunt. And Mr. Lewis engaged Mr. Hike in,
Madam Mayor, it's no personal address. You remind Mr. Meyer. he called
Mr.
my
Hike, he's
name.
taken away from
So
my time. Stop the clock, because I want it all.
Let's let him finish. He didn't say anything
called my
derogatory about
He
you.
called my name.
Mr. Lewis, he didn't say anything
He called my
derogatory.
name.
You can continue, Mr.
You still
Myers.
have a minute, Mr.
I'll take the other 30 seconds too.
Meyer. Okay.
All right, we don't have anything in this proposed resolution that states anything about the protection of the nearby neighbor or any regulations dealing with distances. You might place such a structure away from the adjacent property line or a structure on that adjacent property. All right, and I did not at any time hear this council vote to have Mr. Lewis go to Mr. Hike and ask him for this
Mr.
work.
Chair.
All right, this is something done on
You
his
wanna
own.
keep it decent and orderly.
Mr.
You
Lewis.
said it's not a back and forth discussion.
It's
but
not a
it's
back,
no-
and it is not a
Well,
back and
I
forth
don't know
discussion,
why
and
he's
you're
calling
out of
my name.
order.
Well,
You are
your
out
name-
of order.
Your name is on the agenda, Mr.
Continue.
Lewis.
You're out of order. You're out of order, Mr. I'm gonna,
You'll
would
be-
you please make sure that it's in the record that I've asked Mr. Lewis twice
You can ask.
to contain
I
himself,
said,
and he's out of
let him
order.
address the
Continue, please,
situation.
Mr. Myers.
Thank you. Also on this document, I see where the word adjacent is used, adjacent property, which would mean next door in most cases, to try to say eliminate the person who might be across the street, which might be no more than 30 feet. that person is in the vicinity, and if the property does, a value affects his, because again, property value has a domino effect. Your property go down, then when next door goes down. You understand? That's just as simple as I can put it. Now, we again stand against this, and I think this is an effort to belittle the Planning and Zoning Committee and to engage Mrs. Jane Brown in this, who's not a part of this, but tried to be of assistance because she was asked to, as well as engaging Mr. Hike. And I hope that you charge him fees, because I didn't know any council voted to have you do this for him. All right? So again, we are against such a thing happening, and if there's other areas that we need to address, I'll come back. Allow me more time. I'll speak to those issues. Thank you.
Mr. Myers. We appreciate your comments. The next agenda item is acceptance of the minutes of the new Iberia City Council meeting held on Tuesday, February the 18th, 2014, as published on February the 28th, 2014. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Merrill,
Second.
second by Ms. Roban. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? No objection, motion carries. The next agenda item is an individual to address the council, Mr. Greg Oquan, who is a candidate for 16th Judicial District Court Judge. Thank you for being here.
Mayor Curry, members of the council, Madam Clerk, Attorney Hike. My name is Greg Oquan, and I'm here to announce my candidacy for the Division F Judgeship of the 16th Judicial District Court, which covers the parishes of Iberia, St. Mary, and St. Martin. The Division F seat is presently held by Judge Ed Leonard of Morgan City, who will be retiring at the end of this year, thus creating a vacancy in this section. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been involved in public service my entire professional career. I served a little over 20 years as an assistant district attorney in St. Mary Parish, prosecuting criminal cases. After I left the district attorney's office, I served almost 10 years as a staff attorney with the Office of the Public Defender, representing individuals who could not afford attorneys. During the same time period, I've been a member, a commissioner on the Morgan City Harbor and Terminal District, which runs the port there in Morgan City, similar to y'all port here in Iberia. And for the last 10 years, I've been the city attorney for the city of Morgan City. So I'm very familiar with the issues and problems that our municipalities and public bodies are faced with here in the district. Now, does this background make me the best qualified candidate for this job? Absolutely not. But what my background has given me is a very good understanding of people, how to deal with people, and how people want to be dealt with. And let's face it, that's what a judge does every day. He deals with people. Unfortunately, he has to deal with their misery and pain. He has to deal with their anger and anxieties. Now, this doesn't sound like a very fun job to have, so why does Greg Oquan want this job? Well, I believe, and this is not campaign rhetoric, I truly believe that the good Lord has blessed me with the compassion to deal with people's pain and misery, and also the temperament to deal with their anger and frustration. I've been practicing law for 38 years, and most of that practice has been actually in the courtroom. And I've noticed one thing about people, and it doesn't matter if you are the plaintiff in a lawsuit, if you're the defendant in a lawsuit, if you're the victim of a crime, or if you're charged with the crime yourself. All of these people have one thing in common when they come to court. They want to be treated with dignity and respect. And that's how I want to be treated. And that's how I'm going to treat every single person that comes before me in court. I've been in this campaign now, a good while. Since November of 2012 I started, and I've been traveling throughout the district, St. Mary, St. Martin, Iberia Parish, going to different functions, meeting a lot of people. And I haven't been everywhere, and I haven't met anyone, but I have worked hard, and I'm going to continue to work hard until the very last vote is cast on election day. Why? Because I want to be a district judge. So I'm here tonight asking you for your vote and support on November 4th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor Curry, I'm going to excuse myself from the meeting. My daughter has a softball game, and
I
for me,
understand.
thank you so much. God bless you.
Good luck. Thank you. The next person to address the council this evening is our attorney, Mr. Trey Hike, a recognition of the New Iberia Fire Department in providing outstanding service to the community.
Mayor and members of the council, good evening, and public at large. You know, I often sit up here, obviously as city attorney, but first and foremost, I'm a citizen of New Iberia, just like the rest of you. And I wanted to speak tonight. I asked for the mayor to put me on the agenda just to relate to you something that happened to me and to tell you how proud I am of our fire department. On February 21st of this year, I woke up at my normal time of 4:30. Got up to go to the restroom in our house and noticed a bright orange glow coming through the bathroom shades. Opened the shades and looked, and I saw my neighbor's house absolutely ablaze. The fire was through the roof and as high as the trees. So, of course, yelled at my wife, called 911, and here to tell you that the fire department responded within minutes. I can't tell you, exactly how many minutes, but it was quick. And so the house that was blazing was about 3 houses down. This is Bayou Side Drive on the other side of the bayou, kind of near, not too far from the Burger King on the other side of the bayou. But the fire department responded quickly. I went outside in my pajamas to see, obviously whose house was on fire, if everybody was okay, there with my wife, and immediately saw familiar faces, and it was our fire department. Of course, a lot of guys I've dealt with. Very impressed. They worked very hard. I wanted to tell you that personally. You all should be proud. I'm proud. And wanted to thank, we've got the chief here in the audience tonight, thank his department personally for what they did that day. It was vacant. Nobody was hurt. But they worked tirelessly to secure that fire, check on the neighboring houses, and stayed there until the scene was cleared and safe. So anyway, thank you for my time. And Mr. Shudu, you checking that clock? Thank you. I appreciate it, really.
Thank you.
And we should all be proud. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've had a number of fires in the city in the last couple of months, and they've done a tremendous job, as they always do. And like you said, we've not had any fatalities, and they protect the surrounding areas where this fire has not spread. So we appreciate the hard work that they do, and I want to thank the fire department and the chief for their dedication to the city.
How are we keeping out number 2 open there? We keeping it open more
Been
than
open.
closed, or closed more than open?
Open more than closed.
Thank you. Well, I've always had praises for the fire department. Chief know that ever since I've been on the fire department, on the city council. Because I used to ride with the firemen in Fire for Fire and seen how hard they work with the water hose, with holes in them. Like they were spraying, but they work hard. And I mean, they go into anything. In fact, I'm telling you, it's a job. And you never see any of them lazy or complaining or that, the job is too hard or it's not enough pay or so on and so on. They do what they have to do, and they do more than put out fires. You can't even imagine the job that the firemen do. And I just want to say from all of us, I think, we need to thank our fire department from the bottom of our heart for the courageous and the bravery to go into the fire that burned. My grandson was a fireman, and you see him go into them tank. That fire is so hot. I mean, it's nothing to talk about. I don't see how they stand it, but they stand it, and they do a good job,
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Yes,
Praise them.
Mr. Lewis?
I'd like to commend the fire
Praise
department,
him.
but when we get to agenda item F,
Yeah,
I'll elaborate on F a little more
yeah.
with the firefighting issue and what their job performance.
Yeah.
Because I actually have it on video. Some of the things they have done.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item 4, which is a budget amendment, and we have Ms. Segura here this evening. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2013-2014.
Thank you, Ms. Segura.
Motion.
Oh, a motion, I'm sorry. A motion by Mr. Merrill, a second by Mr. Bagno. And at this time, if you would let Ms. Segura present first, and then if you have questions, we'll be open for questions.
Thanks. Before you this evening for consideration is a budget amendment to the city's fiscal 14 budget. A summary of the budget was included in your packets. It's the 2 pages. The majority of this adjustment is going to provide for transfers into 2 sinking funds. One transfer is coming from the general fund and the other transfer is coming from the disaster fund. This was previously discussed at the city's finance meeting in February. There are 2 other adjustments that have also included on this adjustment that we did not discuss at the finance meeting. One is going to provide for the funding to the museum in accordance with the co-op agreement that was approved earlier this year. And there's also an adjustment into the Public Works Fund to provide for the engineering fees that are in conjunction with a stormwater management plan. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions?
Y'all wanna-
Mr. Doyle?
On the Biotech Museum, we're taking from the general fund to put into, where's that money coming from?
It's coming from the general
From the
fund's
general
fund
fund?
balance,
And we're
correct.
putting it into,
A line item. It'll be paid directly to the museum. We'll give them an annual allocation for them to pay their utilities.
and the engineering fees, is that coming from some dedicated money or just?
The engineering fees are gonna come out of the fund balance of the Public Works Fund. In the past, we've always kept just a very minimal amount in the Public Works Fund. Actually, at the end of fiscal 14, we had anticipated having fund balance of approximately 67,000. So after that $15,000 adjustment, it'll go down to about 52,000.
Okay.
I'd like to tell them a little bit about that stormwater management plan, if you don't mind. It has been determined that we have to have a stormwater management plan. So Mr. Landry and I and some of the members of the parish government have met, Mr. Rainey and Corman, Judy's, and they agreed, Mr. President Romero also agreed, to allow the city to piggyback on their plan, which we're gonna work together with the parish on this particular plan. This is another one of those unfunded mandates. We are required to have this plan, and this is what the engineers have said they would charge to work with us to get this plan created. So I just wanted you to understand where we were going with this, and that we did partner with the parish on this particular plan. They're paying their portion, and we're paying our portion of the engineering fees. Any questions, Mr. Doyle?
Yeah, I talked to you before about the sinking fund, because I was, had some questions. And is this the, I never remembered my years on the council that we ever took money from the fund balance to put in the sinking fund. It always came from a dedicated tax. You know, I mean, normally that's what pays bonds, correct?
It
Is
depends on
dedicated
how your
taxes?
bonds are written. These bonds were written to where we have to have a sinking fund. You know, your quote in the paper was incorrect. We have to have a sinking fund, which,
But-
to explain it in layman's terms, it's like a savings account. And every month, we're required to put a certain amount in that account. And twice a year, they draw out the interest, the bank draws out the interest and pays the debt on the interest, and then once a year, they pay the principal. And whenever we issued these bonds, I don't know if you were on the council at the time or not, that was part of the bond agreement, was that we would have this sinking fund.
But I understand about the sinking fund, but I don't ever recall that we had to take money out of a fund balance to put in a sinking fund. Because you're taking the money really from a savings account and putting it in a separate account. That's correct.
In fiscal 12, so we backing up a couple of years, right when I first started working here, there were some transfers that were appropriated to be made. If those transfers would have been made, we would have created a deficit fund balance in those funds. So we did not make those transfers because we would have overdrawn those funds. It would have created a deficit in that fund balance, which we couldn't have.
I understand.
When fiscal 13's budget was adopted was right at that same time. Even when the audit was finished up, 6 months later after year end, we still had a deficit budgeted in the general fund. and we didn't really have any available, like sales tax, even the sales tax fund can be used to make these transfers, but the fund balance was not enough. And so now that our audit for fiscal 13 all our numbers are pretty much finalized, there's a little bit more money left over in disaster, because we originally anticipated that we were gonna transfer from disaster into the garbage fund to offset that fund. We ended up not having to transfer any money out of disaster for that. And then in general fund, we had actually, up until the very end, I was still projecting a deficit. We actually have a surplus. So with that fund there is how we're making those transfers. And I guess really more so to answer your question, we could make that transfer out of sales tax. We just don't have enough money in that sales tax fund, which is why we're looking to those other two unrestricted funds in order to move it over.
I understand that, but my question was that's the first time I ever recall taking from a fund balance to put into the sinking fund to pay the bonds.
Well, it's like we're playing catch up.
I understand, but I never seen that happen before, and that's my question. Because normally, as you mentioned, we have a property tax that's for debt bonds, and we collect about
There's a
1.9 million.
Geo bonds.
Geo bonds. We collect that. And then, but we have a property tax that has general purpose, and we have one that does streets, right? So those funds, monies from that could go and pay these bonds?
No.
No? So which
Well-
ones that could pay the bonds out of the taxes we collect?
The sales tax, that 1
Yeah.
cent sales tax, because that one is for capital projects.
But it's for all kind of things also.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we could use general fund, to the extent that there was something left
If they had
over.
money in it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So, because it looks like we pay about $4 million a year in bonds payment. I went by the, what we had in our budget.
You
and
put them principal and interest?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's about 4 million, and that's not counting the 6 million that we just borrowed because we just drawed a little bit off of it so far, correct? So right now, we got about 4 million a year we pay back in bonds, correct? And right now, you're saying the collection that we're having in sales tax and property tax, we don't have enough in our general fund to pay that back. So we taking money from our fund balance to be able to pay this back?
Okay, in the current year's budget, we currently have transfers already appropriated, probably almost $1 million out of the sales tax fund to provide for debt service payments. And let me see.
In 2014?
In
Yeah.
2014.
But this money we taking the 900 is coming back from 12 and 13?
Just 12.
Just 12. Has nothing to do with 14 budget. But if we had enough revenue coming in with the sales tax or the property tax, we wouldn't have to go into our fund balance.
Right.
That's what I was asking. That this first time I just seen that happen, but it has to go. So right now, when you collect money from your property and sales tax to pay bonds back, do you have to put that money in a sinking fund before you pay the bonds, or no?
Well, there are some of the bonds that are secured with the sales tax, we do make payments into the sinking fund.
But not all of them.
Not all of
That-
them, no.
that's-
Like your geo bonds, don't require you to deposit into a sinking fund on a monthly basis.
So, but it looks like when we finish collecting the money for that 6 million that we just approved, we'll be right at $40 million we owe in bonds. If you add the balances of all the bonds.
At the end of fiscal 14, we should owe somewhere around 31 million. So if you add the 6 million to that, it'll be about 37
At the end of 14.
at the end of 14.
Right.
And the majority of that debt is wastewater.
Yes, yeah.
All except for
But
13 million is wastewater.
Wastewater is the only one that we have the sewer user fee that will take care of that bond. The rest is coming from different revenues.
There's a lot of the wastewater plant debt that is not paid for by user fees. There's two geo issues.
Okay.
And both of those are for wastewater. And then there's one issue that originally was 3 issues that was combined into one refunding issue. And that is secured with sales taxes, and that is for wastewater debt as well.
So you pretty positive for 2014, we will not have to take money from our fund balance to take any bonds?
I'm not anticipating anything. I mean, I already have everything appropriated the way that it needs to. I mean, if sales tax collections, fall,
Well,
I mean,
it
but,
failed this month.
yeah.
So now we're taking the money from the disaster and and a fund balance. So what's our balance after we take that 900?
In disaster,
In both of them.
okay. In
That's
general,
undedicated.
in general fund, let's see, 36.
About 1.4 million, huh?
Right, in general fund, we'll have approximately 1.4, 1.5 million, and in disaster, we'll have about 260,000.
So it's about 1.6 million.
Correct.
But there's no guarantee that we might not have to tap into that. Okay, I was just,
I don't think that.
even though we
there's
adopted
anything
2014, this, I want to make sure that the 2014 budget that this council adopted had nothing to do with this 900,000 that we're catching up on. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's right.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure of that. And that was found by you or the auditors or by
No.
bondsmen? You?
Kimberly.
Okay. I don't have to thank you, not, but appreciate your help. But I'm trying to understand, because that never happened in the past with us doing that, taking it from the fund balance. And that's showing that we don't have enough
Sales
taxes
tax
coming in.
revenue is not enough. It
So,
is-
and we hope we don't have to do it again, but it's a possibility,
yeah.
correct? Okay,
could
well, thank you. I
You know,
just-
and just for the
Concerned,
council,
You don't
for
know
the
unless
council's
you ask.
knowledge and for
Yes.
the public's knowledge, the majority of our debt is wastewater. I mean, I think y'all all realize that. The majority of the city's debt is for wastewater. We just gave y'all some figures. You said it would be 31 million at the end of this year, our debt? Plus 6
Yeah.
would be 37, and 13 of that is streets, because we haven't issued that other 2 million. So, 24 million is that correct?
Yes.
24 million is wastewater. So I just want y'all
Well,
to
you have
know,
some
and I
money-
want the public to know, that the majority of our debt is wastewater. We have a little bit for Spanish Town,
Yeah,
but it's hardly anything. I think you said we owe a little over 200,000.
Yeah, well,
234.
30 million.
234, and then, there's another issue, the sewer one is like 40-something thousand.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
minimal. but
250,000.
Yeah,
We borrowed 30 million for the sewage.
The majority of our debt is wastewater. I
But,
mean,
but some of the obligation bond, that's all wastewater,
yep.
huh?
There's two issues, there's a 2010 refunding and a 2013 refunding, and both of those are from wastewater bonds.
Because it looks like we renegotiated almost every
Oh, yeah.
bond that we had.
Everything on the, you have to wait 10 years after you
Yeah.
issue bonds before they're eligible to be refunded, and everything's
We
shorter than 10
renegotiated
years.
everything
Yeah.
we could at a lower interest rate. Every bond that we
But
could
there's,
possibly.
there's no formula about how much money you need in a fund balance comparing to how much bonds you can issue? I
What?
mean, like that 1.6 million, I think, or 1.4 million, 1.6 million we might have left in, how much can we bond out with that little bit fund balance?
Well, I don't know that, that we have an interest to issue any more bonds.
I can tell you this, we would not issue any more bonds unless we have a reoccurring source of revenue
Right,
to cover
dedicated.
those bonds, which would be a
Dedicated.
property tax or
A sales tax.
or sewer user, increase in sewer user fees to
Sales
cover
tax, sales
wastewater,
tax or something.
or a sales tax. We cannot issue any more
I
bonds.
understand, I'm not saying I want to issue new bonds, I was wondering if
Yeah.
you needed a certain fund balance
Right.
to ever do that. No, that's fine.
They're not in
Just $900,000 is just.
Yeah, the fund balance that we have in general fund, we need that as operating, you know, for
Yeah.
operational purposes.
I understand
So
that.
like, what we should be looking to in general fund is, you know, our total operating expenses and, you know, so many months, you know, whether it's 3 or 4 months worth of, a reserve
Yeah.
that's built up, you know, in case something would happen to our revenue stream. And, you know, a lot of our revenue is one time. All of the property taxes come in December, January, February, and that's gotta float us through, you know, the rest of the, fiscal year.
Yeah.
Occupational license, you collect that, you know, at the early part of the fiscal year, and that's gotta, you know,
Now, I
carry
was
you
wondering,
through.
you said about the $37 million that we'll have, that we owe, is that 1.6 million enough in the fund balance for that amount of money that we have bonded out?
Well, we already have the money allocated
I
to the
understand.
debt for, you know, for its intended purpose. I mean, that's all been covered. It's not like we're gonna have to go back to the
Right.
1.6.
It might, you just said it
Well,
could.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
sales taxes would have to fall low. I
Right.
mean, we have a little bit in the sales tax
Yeah.
fund, and, you know, hopefully our expenses are not as high as what we had budgeted for, and we're able to achieve some more savings there. You know, I mean, I was pleasantly pleased to find, you know, that we actually had a surplus in general fund for fiscal 13.
But this is, I just wanna make sure it's part of 13's budget, not 14, it's 900,000.
It's 12.
12, I'm
not
sorry,
14.
12.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mr.
I
Lewis?
do have a question. So, we have $2 million that the mayor is doing to, street program. Can that be used to pay down debt service on road bonds? What, you answered it, so I'm just asking for clarification.
When the project is finished, we'll have to notify the bank, and they're gonna transfer that money from the construction fund, which we would use to pay contractors. They're gonna move that from the construction fund into the debt service fund. And what the bank is gonna do, they're gonna contact, you know, the bondholders, that sort of stuff, and I don't know if they're just gonna apply the payments or if they're gonna pay off the bonds and reduce our debt service.
Okay, but
But it will go to debt service.
it's nothing say that what we asked bond to be used and spent on, it can't be used and spent on the roads.
Could it?
Wait, I'm
No,
gonna,
ma'am, I'm talking to
I'm gonna answer because I know
Yeah.
the question. What he's asking you is, we know that we can use that money to pay down some of our debt, which will help relieve us in the next couple of years if we don't bring in more revenue.
Only the issues to which it relates, though. So
Yeah.
like if it was for the only monies that we have left over is on the 2009 issue that was done for streets and the 2010 issue that was left over, that was done for streets. And that money would go from the construction fund to the debt service fund for
Yeah.
those particular issues,
if,
once those projects are complete.
okay,
If they're
All
not
right.
complete though,
if
Well,
it's not complete,
we still got more streets to
we
repair.
got,
Well, we are delaying those two, we're delaying spending that money until we see if we bring in additional revenue and what our budget looks like in the future.
we're delaying.
I'm
Okay.
delaying spending it
Because I know
in
the
order to be
council did.
fiscally responsible.
Right.
Well, I'm not gonna do anything, Mr. Lewis, that's gonna put this city in,
Well,
financial,
Budget in the past,
Miss-
which deficit spending,
but
so
Um,
that
we
wasn't
are-
fiscally responsible.
I am gonna hold
That
this
the
money.
council-
Mayor, how-
Okay, let's go on with this budget amendment.
that the
They're off this-
council adopted.
Does anyone else have anything that they wanna address with this budget amendment?
Mr. Durr's still
Please
crying
vote your
about
machines.
getting those
Please,
that bad.
please vote your machines. A yes is to adopt this amendment, a no is against it.
Still crying.
Everyone voted?
the light's not on there.
Oh, sorry, y'all.
Okay, vote again, please. A yes is to adopt the budget amendment.
Half, we spent the money.
Motion carries. The next, thank you very much, Mr. Gore. Thanks for all
Thank
your
you,
hard
Kim.
work. The next agenda item is a resolution. Madam Clerk?
A resolution of the New Iberia Board of Trustees approving the application for the grant funds from the FHWA Recreational Trails Program for Louisiana.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, somebody, second by Mr. Bagno. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? No objection, motion carries. The next agenda item is agenda item 5B. Madam Clerk, resolution.
A resolution declaring the old pump station building at the McElhenney Pump Station surplus and authorizing it to be demolished.
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Bagno, a second by Mr. Doyle. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Clarification, it's not the pump station that we're demolishing?
No, it's the building.
Building.
Yeah,
It's the
okay.
building. And Mr. Palumbo is
Mr.
here if
Palumbo
y'all
and I
have any
spoke about that
questions,
today,
but it
yeah.
is the building.
Okay.
And they can take care of it. It should not be any additional cost to the city. Okay, I'll ask you to please vote your machines. We'll stay on the same. Motion carries unanimously. The next one is agenda item 5C, and it's a resolution.
A resolution authorizing the mayor for and on behalf of the Board of Trustees to enter into a maintenance and operation service agreement between the City of New Iberia, Sewage District Number 1 of Iberia Parish, and Dove Environmental.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Swear, a second by Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion?
I got a question, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Palumbo's here.
Question. On the 5th of every month is when they supposed to give that information to us as far as how's everything running and everything like that.
Correct.
I would like to be able to know if we can get some type of information on that.
Absolutely.
Personally, the council members, so we can be on top of it since we entered into this agreement, so we can be. I just want to be able to know that we knowing exactly what's going on with it.
Absolutely. I can
Besides the
send it,
report that comes.
I can send it by email. I can put it in your packets.
I like
whatever
to
you-
have it in the packet if you don't
Okay,
mind.
not a
I
problem.
appreciate it.
I can make that happen.
Is this the renewal of agreement, basically?
It's a 3-year renewal.
3-year, yeah, I wasn't sure enough time.
Vince, that 18,385, that's our share?
No,
Or
that's total for the
That's
month.
total, so we pay half of that?
Correct.
And then they reimburse us or reimburse them?
They reimburse us.
Anyone else? Okay, please vote your machines. Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Palumbo, I need to just applaud you for the job that you have done.
Thank you, Council.
Since we contracted you some years ago when I first got on. I haven't been disappointed. You're very knowledgeable of sewer works, very knowledgeable of our consent decree. And to be honest, I just haven't been disappointed. Any calls or things I've asked, you've been not hesitant about telling me what I need to know, providing me with the information that I need. And I just want to thank you for the job that you're doing. Much better job well done.
Appreciate the kind words.
Anyone else? Please vote your machines. Thank you, Mr. Palumbo.
You voted.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, unanimous. Okay, the next agenda item, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of acceptance to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Iberia Parish Government for the purchase of speed lumps for the City of New Iberia, New Iberia City Park, West End Park, Frederick, Roger, and St. Joseph Street to be funded in the amount of $10,000 from Iberia Parish Government.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mr. Rack. Any discussion?
I have a discussion,
okay.
Mayor.
Well, he had it on. Let me let him start
Okay,
first
go
and then
ahead.
Mr. Doyle?
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, man. You know, Mayor, I went to, I'm not a fan of speed bumps on city streets, but I went yesterday afternoon and I went this morning, the Rogers Street, the Frederick Street, and the St. Joseph Street, all go into the complex of the apartments. It's not like it's a street. If you go in there, you go into the complex. And I watched the children get out the buses both days. It's unbelievable. And you know, they don't get a second chance. Sometimes they don't use a judgment. Sometimes they jumping off the bus because they're excited to be off of school. And just like City Park, I watched the new playground equipment where the kids are running, they're so excited they don't pay attention. So to say that, I'm in support of this because it's about the kids and it's about streets that does not where traffic, unless it's going to really the complex, is involved, and there's so many kids. They mentioned 346 kids. They have 150 apartments, and it's about 600 people, including grown-ups, that is in this complex that is very, very dangerous. And it's a unique situation. And if I wouldn't have witnessed this for myself, I wouldn't be in favor of it. But I think when children's involved, we have to sometimes look outside the box and do this. And I want to thank the parish for coming back with the money because to support this, because it's not only a parish issue, it's a city issue, and it's about safety. So I want to appreciate their money for us to be able to do it, and that's why I'm supporting these speed lumps, because of the situation it's involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna get Mr. Merrill, and then I'll get you next, Mr. Rakia.
Well, I'm
Mr.
also
Merrill?
in support of the young lady who came up talking about the Back Manila area where the kids were, and I was aware also, I was called about it, you know, and I was aware of what happened as far as the person getting run down in that area also. And I really do think that they need the speed bumps in that area too. And because it's more of a confined area too, like Mr. Dawes said, when you're getting off that bus, you know, there's not a big area where these kids can go. They're running off of the bus, you know, and you got a lot of people that's passing back there that don't have regard for the speed when they're coming in and out of Back Manila area.
Correct.
So I really think that we should definitely consider putting those speed bumps back there. And I know a few years back, me and Mr. Begno, I was asked to try to put speed bumps in my area a long time back, a few years back, and council didn't want to look at doing it because of the liability, what it would cost to the city. And Mr. Begno did a good study, and he talked about how the other areas were in Lafayette and different things like that. And from my understanding, Lafayette didn't have any lawsuits against them, but they did have some things that were handled locally. But I really think it's a good idea, and I pray that each one of you guys look at it the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rack?
First of all, I don't think the council was against speed bump, because 3 years ago in capital outlay, we approved money for speed bump. I was the first one that asked for speed bump in Western Park, but it was denied for some reason or another. And Mr. Doyle, I'm surprised to see that you didn't visit Western Park with that Head Start back there. Those cars go around that four-way stop in the morning by the building. I mean, they're gunning in from Gilbert Street. They're going through there to, I don't know if they're in a hurry to get to work or not, what the problem is, but there are little babies that go to, thank God they let them out on the school ground. But I'm aware of Back Manila, and I'm aware a lot of the school where these cars do not stop. This morning, I was behind a car, and that car was actually trying to pass while that bus was stopped. I blew my horn. If we need some kind of control for the cars in certain areas where our babies are, the children. Because as you said just now, when a child is getting off the bus, they running to get home or at school or wherever. They're not thinking about nothing else. Those children, you could watch them. They're just so happy to get on the bus or get off. And the cars need to be more careful. And I'm speaking in the areas, especially where I live. I'm speaking to my constituent, my people, black or white or whatever. They're taking it for granted. But if one child get hurt, that is one child too many. And at Head Start, the problem is they got a four-way stop with a light in Western Park, mind you. They come from Gilbert Street, they're rushing. I sit right in that building. They come on Field Street, they flying. They passing up that four-way stop. I don't know if they're in a hurry or not, but if they get in a wreck, they're gonna want to say what and what, argue. But it is a shame the way people taking traffic for granted these days. But you got to remember, even if one child get hurt. A child got off the bus this morning, and I think he goes to Catholic school. I was surprised to know one child on my street go there. And that little boy got off the bus, and he was passing on the side to turn on Iberia Street, and that car kept going. They're just taking things for granted, and these children just got to be careful for their own self, poor little darling. But I'm saying to you and the mayor, to the parish council, I want to thank them for the speed lump, because they need it where they're coming over that hump in Western Park. Look like that's where they gear up. I don't know if they're excited to go over that lump right under that lump to go fast or what. But we did have a child got hit in the Western Park coming out the building or going in, whichever, 7 years old. That was a year or two ago. Speed lump is to be put wherever our children, especially our babies, are. And I'm not going to say no to none. Back Manila is one of them. It is it's busy. I know you must have seen it. It's something. It's impossible that nobody have gotten killed over and over and over and over again. I guess the poor little babies looking out for themselves. But I just want to say thank you to the parish, to Romo and the mayor for not vetoing it, and let's move on with the speed bumps, lumps, not bumps, because the bumps bump the back of your car. But the pads like they have in Lafayette is like a rumper, you know, and it makes you slow down. None of those young guys want to mess up their new cars. They don't want to go over a certain thing. But I want to say thank you to everybody and to my constituent. I just want to say constituent and my people, please, please, I don't want to go out of the box, but be careful of life of the young children right now. I'm going to speak about the older one later on. The young babies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Was that, oh, okay, I'll get Mr. Lewis and then Mr. Bagnell, is that okay?
That's fine.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. I think what, I'm listening to all what was mentioned, but where the young lady was actually run down, it wasn't 50 yards from the neighborhood park that the city and the parish funded to put new equipment in. I don't think anybody mentioned that. Where 50 yard, if 50 yard, that she was a teenager, where she could have, if it hadn't sprung up on her, used good judgment. So, we have a neighborhood park that's located in Back Manila,
Yes.
where that young lady lost
Yeah, that
her
child.
life that was drugged underneath a car right there and lost her life. So I don't know, you know, if we shouldn't have had a veto or a back and forth, because you know what, Mayor, you say we take some things personal. I think if we lose children or constituents due to that kind of activity, and regardless of it, whatever was going on that day, but it was down 50 yards from a park that the city maintained, and the parish helped fund equipment in that neighborhood park. So I don't know, we want to work, say we want to work with parish government, and then, yeah, let's put them in City Park. Let's put them in West End. But I don't know why we would want to exclude where we have a neighborhood park that impact. Now I'm surprised, 356 children. If a teenager, and from what I know, it was 15, 16, what are 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old basketball goals that got little equipment? What their judgment gonna be like? So we wanna work with the parish, we need to work with the parish and stop this petty stuff. Because you can't do City Park West End, and we got a park right there.
Amen.
And we about preservation of life. I'm about preservation of human life, because I don't want to have to walk slow. And I have 5 of them behind mine, and I don't want to have to walk slow behind none of your children due to reckless behavior within the city limits of the library. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis,
Mr.
I want to
Bagnell?
correct, excuse me, Frederick Street. A 3-year-old child got killed there about 5 years ago by that park. You're correct. I think Mr. Swear might have just overlooked it. We
No,
need to pick it up.
Well,
The little girl got
I know when you're talking Frederick Street, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Bagnell.
Mr. Bagnell?
okay. Well, as a proponent of speed calming devices or speed bumps or speed lumps, or speed tables, whatever they call them, used in high activity areas with kids and pedestrians and walking tracks. I've proposed this before, and I was made aware not only of the expense but also the liability the city could have that we could potentially incur. So at the time when I first proposed this, you know, we kind of, I think, put it on the back burner. And when I was doing my research in my first term, I had answers to most of the arguments in installing them. And one of the main arguments was the emergency fire truck vehicles. We have to make sure that we watch for that, because in this particular complex, if we put one, we need to make sure fire trucks can get in there, because that would be a greater tragedy if they're slowed down by getting in there. But aside from all that, the cost factor and procedures of installing and removing the devices were brought up along with the liability of the city. So I kind of pushed it back a little bit, and it's come up again. But it looks like we have an answer this time as far as the expenses go. For this particular project, the parish is willing to give us some money for us to do it. I would hope that the parish council representatives that support that work, or representatives of the city, would be supportive in this effort if we get other questions for speed lumps or speed bumps throughout the city, because I'm sure we will get other questions, other people will be asking for them. I hope the parish is as willing to help us there, because I think this was a unanimous vote by the parish council at the time. So I'd like those representatives to look at the next ones we get also, because we'll be turning them into them if we get them. I do have some concerns, and that is one council member parish council member that brought this to us asked that we put them in City Park. I have no problem with that. And his statement was that they haven't had any lawsuits in Lafayette, and I just want this out there for public notice. They have not had any lawsuits in Lafayette for these speed tables that they put throughout the city. However, they had some damages to vehicles, and that has gone against their insurance. So there is a liability for the city. We will possibly incur some increased premiums because of that, but again, sometimes you have to look beyond that. As I said, I have no problem with replacing the speed bumps or even adding them in the city parks, West End, in the one on this side of the bayou in my area, where they were before, especially by the new playground area. I can understand the need for that there. I think there's some things we have to be aware of and we need to be concerned with, and that is the type of speed bump that's put there. And even going into the apartment complex, there seems to be some validity for that with all the kids playing in that area. But we need to make sure that we meet these criteria. And one of them is that they must be fire truck compliant, which means there must be enough space for the fire trucks to go through there, which they're made specifically for that. If you go through Lafayette, if you look at them, they're put in the street where there is enough room for a fire truck to go through without slowing it down. They're basically 3 inches high. They can't be speed bumps. They have to be speed humps, which is the difference. I've realized that by researching this. They're no more than 3 inches tall, but they're more like 7 feet long, or I guess width is what they call it, and then they stretch out across the road. That slows them down to between 10 to 15 miles an hour. It does slow the traffic down, but it doesn't do as much damage to the vehicles, I found out. So that we need to make sure that's done. And then proper signage. We haven't talked about any of that. We need to make sure that signage is put up for these people to understand that, because if that's not there, again, there's some potential litigation there. So I think all of this needs to be done, but also installation. How is it going to, who's going to install it? So those are some things that we need to look at, and I'm hoping that, once we do this and get the proper thing, if it does cost more than the money that was allocated to us, I hope we can go back to the parish council and they would assume some more responsibility and give us a little more money, being that they're in favor of this. Thank you.
Mr. Swear?
Mr. Begnaud, I'm sure the fire trucks in Lafayette are any larger than the ones over here, so.
But they're wider than a regular car, Mr. That's my point.
But if they can pass on the ones that they have over there.
That's my point. I want it to be just like that,
Mr.
Mr. Swear,
Dole can
exactly.
probably clear it better. He went over there to Lafayette, and I think.
I did
if
too.
we're
My
going out
mother-in-law
there-
lives on the street with one on there. I went to take pictures. I know what they
How
are.
many
But they
years
have
you
to
been
be
having
wide
them over
enough for a
there, Mr.
fire
Dole?
truck. So thank you.
How many years?
If I can, I went to Lafayette and sat with the public works guy,
And I
and he
called him,
showed
so
us
it's
the
okay.
pictures and showed us the criteria, and they had no problems. But the thing is, you have to go by the way it's called to be installed. You have to use a certain way to
pictures of it. I know.
pin them down. You have to put signage. You have to do certain things. And if you
I
play by
researched
the
on that.
rules, they
Exactly.
have no problem.
Okay.
And
That was my only question, is
Yeah.
that we make sure we do it that way, the proper way.
Who's gonna put them down?
you know.
We will. So it's up to us to make sure that they put down right.
That's all I'm asking.
But just,
Thank you.
if I have a minute, just to say, I did go to Lafayette and spend time to make sure, and I did go spend time yesterday
I know,
twice to look at it, to make sure.
Mr. Dahl, I
it-
did the same
It was
thing.
the
I do
right
appreciate
thing,
it, but I did do the same
It all has to be done by the recommendations of the company that sells it.
Right.
If you don't do it that way, then you will be
We
liable.
also have requirements through RMI, through our insurance
The
company,
company just
that
won't-
we'll have to follow.
Can I ask
Again,
a question?
Thank you.
The
Yes,
company
ma'am.
just gonna give them to us and we just throw them on the street?
I'm not sure
Or the
what, I'm
company
not
install
sure how
them?
this
I'm not
works.
understanding.
Well, no, if, it depends, and from what we're understanding is that the rubber, there's some that are made of rubber, those are the ones that they're replacing in Lafayette, and they need to be the same material as the
Okay.
road. Asphalt on asphalt and so forth, or that's the ones that are coming up that are causing damage to the
The
vehicles.
one on asphalt?
Because I talked to RMI in Lafayette for the Lafayette Consolidated Government, and they have had claims, never a lawsuit, but they have had claims because the rubber ones come up.
The pins
So
come
that's
up.
gonna have to all be discussed, and, you know,
Well, we
if in
cross
fact
that
they,
bridge.
I'm not sure if
Mayor, if I could
anybody
just
knows if they're giving
have
us the
something to
money,
say,
or
too.
I don't know exactly.
One last thing. The ones on my
Right.
mother-in-law's street have been there for, I think, 20 years. And
Uh-huh.
they're starting to wear now, but they've lasted that long. So, I mean,
Right.
they're durable. But my concern
Yeah.
is that we make sure we do it's done right.
One
If
other
we do
thing,
Yep.
Mayor, what you was talking about the liabilities and everything.
Right.
I wanna make sure that even though we're not putting a cost for them, that there is some type of cost, effective where the parish will be able to help us out as far as some type of liability.
They donating you the money, it's up to you to
Right,
buy
but
it. Yeah. When they give you the money for the big ride they just put in City Park, any lawsuit you're gonna get from there, you expect the people to fund the money too, that bought the big slides and all that?
Well, there's still some things we have to
Huh?
look into.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time somebody gonna give us something, they got to give us money for insurance.
Okay, anyone else? No, Ms. Roban? Been awfully quiet.
Stay
I feel like I
quiet.
just get forgotten over
Stay
here.
quiet.
No, I just want to put my opinion out there. As far as the speed bumps go on, well, with regard to the parks, the city park and the West End Park, I just want to be clear that I am for the installation of those merely because they're parks. We have a high value of children there, and I really feel they're needed there. With regard to the Back Manila area, unfortunately, my opinion differs from some of my colleagues up here that I just, as someone who I live on a street with an elementary school that's from kindergarten to 6th grade, and I have a park on my street. I have a lot of traffic. They speed all the time. I have a 4-year-old. Would I like speed bumps on my street? Yeah, I would. But I don't feel like I should have them on my street if we can't put them on every street that has a park or a school, because it's like you're opening up that can. It in no way, shape, or form means that I don't have any empathy for what has happened in Back Manila with the children. I'm very sad to hear that has happened. But a reoccurring thing that everyone has mentioned is we have people speeding, breaking the law. To me, the proper resolution to that type of issue stems from we need to have our law enforcement out there controlling that and prohibiting it. And in my job capacity with Public Defender's Office, I'm in court a lot, in city court, which is where all the city traffic citations come through. I can't say that in the past 3 years I've seen a speeding ticket come across the table in that area. So I feel like that should be our first avenue before we spend more money. Even if this money is given to us from parish government, that's not, in my opinion, the first correct way to address this problem. I rode through there today. I've been through there a bunch of times. We have clients that live back there. But speed limit signs need to be posted better, more strategically, and I think we need to get a hold of the problem. The problem is speeding. The problem is cars driving around each other. That's all things that can be solved or deterred with citations. So it's just at this point, like I said, I don't feel it's fair. I have people that have requested it on my street, speed bumps. I have people that have requested it on Front Street. speed bumps, and it's like, I feel like we do this for one park, we need to do it for all. And unfortunately, we don't have the funds available to do for all. So I just, it goes back to how Mr. Act, we sometimes talk about how we shouldn't do something in City Park if we can't give it to West End. And I feel like once you start incorporating these smaller parks, I understand we have to be on a situational case-by-case basis, but I can't let my child outside to go pick up my newspaper because I'm scared he's going to get hit by a car on my street. It affects a lot of people in every neighborhood. There's some cut-through street that people just continuously have no care to abide by the law. And I think that we need to start with the real problem. And so it's going to be my vote not to support the whole package, but I do want the public to know I do support the parks.
Thank you, Ms. Roback. Is there anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'd ask you to please vote your machines. A yes is in favor of the resolution. Motion carries. All yeses, Ms. Roban, no. The next agenda item is a resolution, Madam Clerk.
Resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of New Iberia to act for and on behalf of the city of New Iberia to demolish the boardwalk along the banks of the Bayou Teche between the DePeria Street Bridge and the property owned by Paul Allen, and to allow for the termination of any and all grants of servitude and/or easements in connection with the said boardwalk.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Doyle, second by Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion? Mr. Doyle, put this one on the agenda.
Yeah, Mayor, they have 3 owners as part of that, not just Mr. Allen. They have Mr. Edward Landry and Mr. Joe Sarcy. The resolution says Mr. Allen, but it's 3 owners. And they came to me because they were having problems of agreement that they signed with the city quite a few years ago, that the boardwalk was not being kept up, and that the land by the bayou was not being kept up, and they will experience a lot of break-ins into their businesses since in the last couple of years. So they gave us that right of way. It's not something that the city owned. We went ahead and took their land and put this boardwalk in, and they felt like the city did not meet their agreement, so they asked me to get the city to remove it. And any time that the city needs to use the path for a function, they have no problem letting it at that point. But I hope we do leave it up to at least to the dragon boats are finished with. And but it was the owners of the property that people don't understand that this is on the others people's property. It's not the city's property. So that's why I asked to do this, because of their concerns.
Okay, I just wanted to inform you that it is correct. It says that to demolish the boardwalk along the banks of the Bayou Teche between the DePeria Street Bridge and property owned by Paul Allen.
Yeah, Paul keeps his.
Yeah, but past Paul Allen, there's a piece for Bert Chester too.
I drafted the resolution, and I looked at all the agreements that the landowner signed with the city, and I drafted this way just so we could be clear that there is a section back there that was constructed with public funds, and it's right behind Mr. Paul. And it wanted the resolution to be clear that we're not talking about demolishing that public structure. We're talking about the boardwalk from that point back towards the bridge. And so hopefully I didn't confuse you with the way I worded it.
Did you talk to Mr. Allen about that?
With
You
what- about
saying the
what?
structure behind Mr. Allen's is not included?
It's my understanding that the structure directly behind Mr. Paul Allen's business was built with public funds and was a grant that was given. And that the only thing that the council was considering, and it could be my mistake, the only thing that the council was considering demolishing was the section from Mr. Allen back
his
towards the
property.
bridge.
That's not my understanding with Mr. Allen or Mr. Sestia,
Okay.
because Mr. Sestia owns it too.
the whole
And that
thing,
wasn't the
yeah.
same funding that he got when he built his dock with that sewer plant. That's a different funding.
That could be my misinterpretation. I
Yeah, because
apologize
it
for
is
that.
Mr. Sestia owns part of that,
Yeah.
Mr. Allen, and then what you're speaking about is from there going to Mr. Sarcy and Mr. Landry. So I have no problem keeping this, but I think we might need a correction, because I talked to Mr. Allen
You could
this
make a
week.
motion to amend it to where it's worded properly.
Well, I would like to make it that it goes all the way to the shadows on the Teche. Even if it doesn't go that far, but that's where,
Oh, no, he doesn't want to tear it. He put a lot of that.
No.
He put money into
I
that,
understand, but
that
the
part.
boardwalk behind his building, he does
he-
not want.
He
told
built
us
that.
He did.
He has,
Well-
he
But
supported
y'all
that.
Maybe
gotta
we
make
shouldn't
sure-
vote on it
Well, I
then.
don't think he
Maybe
wants
we
all
should
that
wait.
torn down.
I was with the man.
Well,
I
I
think we
think
should
maybe
wait till
we
we get
need
some
to,
clarification.
Well, wait, I'll
Maybe
take
we
my
need to
motion out because
delay
it's
it.
not an emergency.
Hold
Let's
up
wait
there.
If we have an
Yeah.
issue with ownership, I don't feel comfortable
I think
We
we
need to
voting.
wait till we get
I-
some clarification.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
and
yep.
if it's the council's wishes and the mayor, I'll be happy to meet with you and we'll get it
Yeah, because
straight. So we
you
can-
know, I met with
Let's
every
hold
owner,
up on
and
that.
maybe it was, I misunderstood, but I talked to Mr. Allen
Let's
this
hold up.
week, and he said, when are y'all taking the boardwalk down? I said, not to after the thing, so,
Yeah, I don't think, but we better clarify.
Yeah,
that.
But
I
I,
have
yeah,
no
I
problem.
thought he
If you
had
don't
secured
mind,
his
will you-
boardwalk area and made it
Will you
structural.
rescind your motion?
We did.
I'll rescind my motion, man.
He's gonna rescind his
Continue.
motion, and we'll just put it on the next
Just to
agenda.
clarify, not that I'm not in agreement doing
Yeah,
this.
to
That's
make
good.
Oh,
Okay.
I know, I understand,
we
but
need
I
some
wanna make sure we
Put it
have
right
everybody.
there.
Me too, because it's,
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Ike, couldn't we pass this contingent upon y'all checking with him and then getting it approved and then y'all be ready to roll? You won't have to come back.
No.
I'd like for, what we're trying to do is get the council's authority to do this, and I'd like for the, we're clear on what the council's authorizing the administration to
what?
do.
Yeah,
Because it's
just
to
do
demolish,
not-
it's to
because we
demolish
can't
the
do anything
structure.
until
Yeah,
after.
the
It's
Dragon,
to
they
demolish,
want
it's
us
to
to
demolish
leave it
the
up.
structure
Yeah.
and to I'll file something in the clerk's records to cancel, there's an easement back
Right.
there.
Right.
Right.
Those landowners granted an easement to the city, so I'll file something
I
to
have
cancel
no problem with that
easement.
because we
Ms.
leave.
Roban
yeah,
had
'cause-
her hand up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I just want to be clear because my friends on tap are just, they want to make sure, when is the plan to have it torn down? Is it definitely positively after Dragon
It's
Boat?
gonna
They
be
told
after,
me I had to check.
definitely after the Dragon Boat.
Okay,
We
so
we
we
told
have
them,
that.
we had a meeting with them, and we told them that we would
And
not tear
they
it
had
down
asked
till
me
after.
again today, and I promised them I would re-ask,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
to be
no.
clear.
With council approval, we assured them
Yeah.
we would not do it until after. Mr. Begno.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the date of the Dragon Boat races.
The
Maybe
5th,
the
I think.
April
it's
5th.
We have a meeting prior to that, so even if we decide to tear
Yeah.
it down, it
Right.
wouldn't be till after the Dragon Boat
April.
races.
I want to make it
Yeah.
clear for the public.
That's good.
Sure. And I just want to make sure that we have this
Yeah,
correct,
I'd
because
be-
I was under the assumption that
sorry.
Mr. Allen wanted to keep the boardwalk behind.
So
us.
we'll put it back on April 1st
Okay.
meeting,
Yeah,
if you
they
don't
want
mind.
a
Let's meet to make sure we're clear, make
Okay.
sure I'm clear, and then we'll put it back on.
Motion to rescind.
Thank you.
Motion to
Yes, ma'am.
rescind.
Motion to
Substitute
rescind.
motion
I'm
to
glad we
rescind.
talked about it.
All in favor,
Wait,
is there
second?
a second motion to rescind? Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
is everyone in favor to rescind?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Sorry about that.
Good deal. Okay, the next agenda item is agenda item 5F. Madam Clerk?
A resolution in support of submitting to the New Iberia Zoning Commission for their review amendments to the City of New Iberia Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Zoning, Article 3, Schedule of District Regulations, adopted Section 3.5 in an R3 Residential District 3.501, permitted uses, and Article 14, service fee schedules.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor.
Can we get a motion? A motion?
Motion, I'm sorry, a motion by Mr. Lewis, a second by Mr. Swear. Okay, I'm sorry. You're, Mr. Lewis?
When I approached planning and zoning last time, after talking to the majority of the council, but some of my colleagues, I tell you, got gun shy for whatever reason, that's your business. Because, you know, what I do, my actions I take, I gotta answer to my constituents as well. And I seem to do a pretty good job with their answer for me. So I'm not gun shy anymore. One, the young people need to have an opportunity for a start. We have a whole bunch of property that's, a lot of the city owns. You can't do anything adjudicated. A lot of the city owned is adjudicated. The mayor stated more than once it'd be too costly to do background and do whatever needs to be done with adjudication. But when I went to the planning and zoning, their question was, well, what specifically you were asking to be done? I said, in R3 only. And I had to discuss that with the majority of my colleagues here. And I said, they all had opportunity to look at the map, but the question was, where, how, what? So I'm glad to see a planning and zoning member here, because now we're gonna send a more clear, I hope my colleagues will support a more clear definition to what, where, how, and what. Because I believe we need to treat this just as planning and zoning treats special use, conditional use, or a commercial business. So I think this time, instead of missing a beat, that's all I'm asking. Mr. Mize, and then you can get your gavel, but he addressed me during public comment time, but I want to say this. Talking about depreciation, this and that and the other, but when I think I worked tirelessly with your family when y'all had Leo's rendezvous, and it was in a deplorable shape, trying to see that y'all secured funding to bring that place back or save that history that was there.
We're not gonna get into back and forth discussion.
End up burning it down and destroying another property behind it. So, for the appreciation of what Mr. Myers was talking about, you know, with the proper aesthetics, the only thing I did with Ms. Grove and Mr. Height didn't address, Ms. Grove said she felt that could be a policy once this was submitted, adopted by planning and zoning. I think in our economy that we're experiencing here, in the city of New Iberia, it would create sales tax, property taxes. The inspections would have to go out and make sure everything is okay. In planning and zoning, you would have to bring it before planning and zoning. And the next door property owner would have to say, okay, if I'm across the street and I live next door to, I would want to see the best living next door to me. And that's where I left it. So it's pretty cut and dry. I'm asking for support to send it back to planning and zoning and let the chips fall where they may. But we all didn't start off being able to buy a home. We started somewhere. We started somewhere. We all wasn't able. Some of us lived with our mothers and fathers. Must I clown? I do not want to clown. Some of us lived until we got married and was able to move out, and maybe a mobile home was our first investment. I don't believe everybody knows trailer park trash. I don't believe you got trailer park trash. I don't know where that saying comes from, but that's my belief. I believe giving a young couple that may not have established their credit rating of 1100, an opportunity where family may own some property to go out and be able to put a mobile home till the economy days get better. That's all I believe. That's all I believe. And I'm just asking this council to support sending it back. And I didn't put it, the only other thing I didn't do was put an age limit on it. But I can tell you this, why I didn't, because I have a friend of mine that lived right behind St. Peter Catholic Church. And it will make you, when you walk in, take your shoes off. And it's a 1971 mobile home. You will
That's
take
the
your
older
shoes off at the door.
The older one are strong.
Not to want to disturb that woodwork, it's something, the flooring is something. So, all I'm asking, we send it back to planning and zoning, this time with some meat,
Yeah.
to answer the unanswered question. And I'm not trying to put them all over this city,
Yeah.
but all three, we've all had an opportunity to look where that will impact our district. And let's be some decent human beings, because we all don't have money. A lot of people may not, under these economic times we living in. That's all I'm asking. And then once it come back, we'll make a decision. But I know what planning and zoning told me the last time. They didn't have really enough information. And this, if you look at the prepared, and I thank Mr. Hyde and Mr. Bro for sitting, Ms. Bro, for sitting down with me. So this time, I think that questions will be answered. Mayor, I'm done. No need to rush me.
Anyone else has any comments or questions?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I am not against trailers or mobile home or modular home. In the city, in the district where I live, the people in the residential area where they got homes are against trailers. I want to be made plain. Not one person living on the street want a mobile home next to them. The only area that I have that I would plead to put trailer is Spencer Loop and Lynn Circle. It is designed for trailers park, trailer home and mobile home. Listen to what I'm saying. When you put a mobile home in Spencer Loop or Lynn Circle, I would wish that they would fall into a zone where these trailers would be put up. You know what I'm saying? Put up with the right violation. Either put skirts around it, put a porch, put a driveway, no parking the car on the grass. Sort of like Southern Mutuals gave us a blueprint for that. I would like to, and bring the other trailer park up to zone. You follow what I say? Back there. Because look, we have some trailer park that needs attention. And I think this is the time, if we approve this the way I feel, now I'm saying the way I feel, with feelings, that it should be approved, it should be put up that anybody would be welcome to say, I own a trailer home. Because I have one on the corner, Dale and Corrine. He had trouble putting that trailer home there. But you got to see that thing. It's something for everybody to see. And if people would take pride in their property, pride in anything, because the older mobile home are the better one. Back there, when that tornado struck on the Nico Town Road, my daughter have a trailer maybe about 30 years old. The first mobile home, maybe 40 years. That thing standing strong as could be. You know, it's strong. The ones they're making out to me is more weaker, but I'm not saying, criticize anything. But I'm saying this to say that I have to agree with what Mr. Lurie said. A lot of people have moved to Broussard and Youngsville where they could put mobile home because they could not put any in the inner city. But I want to make it plain. I don't care to put any more mobile home by me because they got one across from me. It's something else. It's something else. But not everybody is like Mr. He says trailer, whatever they call them or whatever. They got some beautiful mobile home and trailer parks. In trailer park. Let's keep the trailer park in trailer park. And if people don't want them next door to their house, so be it. But I know in my district, I'm saying this, not one person in the community wanted trailers next to them. But I had a lot of calls for Spencer Loop and Lynn Circle. And I would require and request that that would be declared a mobile home park or whatever. And I'm finished with that.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Anyone else would like to
Mayor.
address this topic? Mr. Doyle?
You know, originally when it came out a few years ago, I voted to not allow mobile homes into the city from this date on. But there's 11 requirements that you have to meet now, plus a fee that was not implemented when we did that. So I believe if anybody would go through this much work and money to do it, it won't be someone that has a mobile home that we wouldn't accept. So I think with these requirements, we are just asking to bring this resolution back to the planning and zoning, and then make a decision and come back to us. So, you know, I'm in support of it because there's so much more regulations now than prior. So I think it is an opportunity for someone to live in a house versus an apartment. But with these requirements and with the neighborhood involved in the approval of it, it's a win-win. So I have no problem supporting the way this is and see how it comes back from the planning and zoning. Thank you.
And Mr. Swear?
Mayor, I don't believe it's any different than the special use permits we're giving out to commercial use, you know. We almost gave one a while back in my district where they were gonna open up a liquor store and that, and where the people didn't want. So this is what's good about this. The people have the say-so on each side. If they don't want it, it won't go there. So it's no different than the special use permit we're using now, so I can't see why they would be against it.
Mr. Bagno?
Okay, Mayor, I'm looking at all these requirements also, and Dan, I understand what you're saying. I have an R3 zone in my district, and I did call a couple of people in that area, and they were totally against trailers, but that was before we had this list of criteria in front of us, and that may change their perspective if they understand that it's gotta be, there's gonna be a certain steps that they follow, and it's gotta be up to code. Presently, when we're doing when we have our I'm draw a blank now, but our group that checks on the homes, the revisits, we had a department, but there's no longer a department that does that anymore, but, compliance, thank you. Is that something that's gonna fall, if we do this, is that gonna fall under the compliance department also? We'll be checking the trailers to see if they comply once they're in place? Is that in here? So I don't know if I read that. I know they'll be inspected when they're installed, but is that something we're gonna have to deal with later? I wonder if they don't, 10 years down the line.
Like anyhow.
Yeah, okay,
Originally, when they go, they'll have to go before planning and zoning.
Right.
With these
And then-
requirements.
okay,
If they don't meet qualification, they don't put the utilities on, right?
Right.
okay. I just wanted to verify that. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Roban?
I just want to say, first off, I appreciate that Mr. Lewis went and took the time to do all this work. You know, I think it's a good start. I mean, my only issue with it is, I mean, I contradict what you say. I feel like we need an age limit should be on it. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody's entitled to theirs. If it were to pass, I would hope that an age limit would be on it. I only have 2 small R3 areas in my district, and it's been the response of my constituency that they do not want me to support this. However, I just want to make it clear to the public, my personal opinion is seeing the amount of impoverished people that we have in this city and how that's growing. I definitely can understand how the opportunities for them are very slim and few and far in between, and I don't feel like we should keep pulling opportunities from them. But just from a standpoint of my district, I can't always go with what I feel. I have to go with what my constituents represent, and it's been more against than for. However, I just want to make it clear that I feel that we have a good planning and zoning commission, and I'm all for letting them make that determination. I feel like what's the point in having that board if we're not going to send stuff to them for them to review? So I am in favor of sending it to them for review, but unfortunately my support with regard to District 1 has to be not for it at this time. But I appreciate all the work, and I definitely see where you're coming from.
Anyone else?
I have something too.
Yes.
When this came up the last time, you know, I also look at it, you know, in my district, I got trailer parks. Deer Street, got some trailer parks over there. And I can tell you, some of the trailer parks that's in my district is horrible. They're not taken care of at all. And even the landlords who own them not making sure that they're taken care of the way they're supposed to be. I have nothing against a trailer. I have a problem with that, but I do have something against people that don't take care of their property.
Amen.
I don't care if you're white, black, or green. And I do feel that trailers, they have mobile homes, and they have other things that came after mobile homes. Trailers is delete. That was a thing of the past. They have other stuff that came after trailers, okay? I don't have nothing against it, but they do have, homes that qualify to be in areas where people have nice homes, or they feel that they're gonna have problems with them losing their value on their homes. And I just think trailers was good at the time. I don't have a problem with it if it's in a trailer park area, like Ms. Dirac said, because there is areas in New Iberia where people can put trailer parks. I don't have a problem with that. But you have a lot of areas where people are buying homes these days. Some of the people that's used to live in trailer parks have homes now.
Yeah.
And some of them don't even feel good about having a trailer next to them if it's not taken care of right. You know, I got trailers you can go past in some of my area. You can go on Silver Street, you can go on Deer Street. You come back and tell me, you know, by looking at some of these people that's staying in some of these trailers, how would you feel about it if it was next to your property?
Amen.
I have no problem with what Mr. Lewis saying, but to me, it's not about if it's a trailer or not. There's economically challenged people all over our city. But then another thing you gotta look at too, is being economically challenged is not saying that you can't move into your own home either. They have homes that have been built for people that have low income, and they're home, they're not a trailer. So I think we need to move to the next level, and I just agree with Ms. Natalie said also, that I just can't support it being all over, but I really think that there's areas that trailers are good for, and if they're there, fine. But people gotta step their game up and take care of their properties too, you know, and that's my take on it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll ask you, Mr. Lewis, you had a closing comment?
Just a brief comment. Trailer parks, that's what the inspection department do. In case none of y'all know.
They check them.
They gotta check them. And if they ain't right, I can tell you, I appreciate, if I don't appreciate Jimmy Landry, no other time, and I do Jimmy. But when it comes to that yearly inspection, if they ain't right, he's not passing. Let's talk about, and if a mobile home, just like anything else, I remember we tore a house down. The city clerk will remember that, across from Johnson Street with somebody in it. It wasn't right. It was a danger to life and health of the children at Johnson Street Elementary School. Madam Clerk, you remember that?
Yes.
The fire chief, if he was in here, he remember that.
I remember.
With somebody in it. So, I don't have a problem if a mobile home got some, and they're not doing the right thing, it's not appearing the way it needs to do, we tackle it how we need to tackle it.
We need to.
We need to tackle it. Simple. We tackle that situation as we do condemnation, but I'm telling you, somebody was in the house on Johnson Street across from that school. And I said before the blood be left on Raymond Shubu Lewis' hand, y'all can talk about grandstanding or whatever else y'all think. But the clerk, Miss Ellich, Miss Brennan, but she was there when we got that accomplished, that simple feat accomplished, when somebody was in it. So,
you know,
that's the extent of my time.
You know, Mayor, I don't want to be Nikita Khrushchev. I feel like hitting the table. But they need to get on these slumlords with these trailers. They need to get on. If money is to be made, these people are collecting up to $400-500 a month, to my knowledge, to live in poverty and in a trail that need to be demolished. We need to get on these slumlords. Enough is enough. That's why these trailer parks is getting the way they are. You allow them to live, and one little, I know Jimmy, and I thank you. Jimmy working so hard. I don't know how he do it. I told him the other day. I think he need an assistant. He really doing a good job for me too. But I'm saying these slumlord and people that collecting money, I could not believe a lady told me she was paying $550 a month to live in a trailer. I wouldn't even go in it. You know, we need to get on them and get on them hard. And like you said, the blood is on him, but the blood gonna be on me too. Cause I'm against these junkyard and so much, and because I don't like filth. I'm gonna be honest, I do not. I don't like junk. That's me. And you could pass where I live. It may be clutter, but you could eat off the floor in the yard too.
Okay, at this time, I'd ask you, if you please vote
That's
your
ridiculous,
machines. A
man.
yes is to
All you
send
do
this
is
resolution to
go.
the Planning and Zoning Board.
Oh,
To send it to the commission.
send it on. Let them do what they do.
Motion carries, all yeses and one no, Mr. Merrill. The next agenda item is property standards. Mr. Lane,
Yeah, y'all change camera on this?
Sure ain't
Yeah,
that?
they did something.
I don't know what happened.
Had to borrow your camera.
Man,
Jimmy, what happened? I don't know what they said on the pictures. Did we change cameras?
He went at night.
It was at night.
I
That's
Good
don't know
night.
why it's so dark.
Come on, Dave. Big.
David, you call me David?
I say, Dan.
Dan.
What's so bad? You
Call
look
me
like
David.
David.
Call me David.
Watch that, Peggy.
That's cool, that's cool.
It's good to have a good laugh. It's not a good laugh.
you need to be colored just like up
Y'all both short.
We don't have any money for color.
I'm taller. Don't even try.
We can paint them.
Pretty bad. Okay, the first, these are revisits. The first property, that one's clear. First property is 510 Anderson Street. Is there anyone here representing that property? Mr. Landry, what is your recommendation?
30 days.
30 days?
And you know, I think in the condition that that house is in and the effect it's taken on the whole neighborhood in that area, if any of us was running for office, I don't think they'd vote for any one of us. That's a shame to put that on somebody. Look like the house is ready to bust wide open. I'm serious.
That's a business, huh?
No, it's not a business, it's a home. And I'm a single mother too, I want them to know that too.
That's the whole store, Ms.
I'm a
That's
single
a
mother.
store.
Peggy.
Oh, that's the store? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse, I'm on the wrong property, it's the house. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
510.
That's Anderson?
Yeah.
No, that's further down, yeah. Oh, no.
What's your recommendations, 30 days?
I'm sorry.
We did make
That's
contact,
okay.
we did make contact with the owners this week, so we're working on it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm on the wrong house.
All right, so we'll just have a motion
A second.
to revisit in 30 days. Okay, Mr. Wright, you made the motion. 30 days.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Excuse me.
610 Mississippi Street. Is there anyone here representing
Jesus.
that property? What is your recommendation?
My recommendation is gonna be 60 days.
60? Why 60?
Well, she's trying to find the money. I've been working with her. I'm
Oh,
trying to
you
find her
have?
some
Well,
money.
that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm
We did
really
write
glad.
her a letter.
She really?
Yeah, she asked us to
Trying?
write a letter, we wrote a letter, and she's trying to get some money.
She wrote a letter for a grant?
Well, it's to try to get some funding.
Yeah. 60 days, that's kinda long. Let. Yeah, give him the 60 day, 610 Mississippi, y'all.
Right.
I'm on the right house.
That's Walton.
That's not
That's
it.
it. That's it.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
The trailer.
That's the
Not
trailer
the
in the
trailer.
back.
It's not a trailer.
The trailer's in the back.
They got a trailer in the yard. and
Yeah,
they
it's in the
got a-
backyard.
They got some cars too.
Oh, that
Yeah.
look like it's.
What's your recommendation?
He's 60 days. He
Yeah.
said 60 days, but I don't know what the
Nobody
council
lived in
wants
that
to do.
trailer.
No.
I'm thinking hard mayor, 60 days, that's a long time. I'ma go along with it.
Okay, a
I'ma
motion
go
by
because
Mr. Wright.
we've been given a lot of days. I'ma give my,
60
preach
days
again.
and second by Mr.
Please,
Swear.
please.
Any objections? No objections. 518 Walton. Is
Yeah,
there-
we need a
is there
move.
anyone here representing that property?
No, she had to leave. She had a prior
Okay,
equipment.
what is your recommendation there?
That trailer back there.
My recommendation is gonna be 90 days. They're having family issues, and she has an attorney working on it. He called me this week.
Motion for 90 days.
Who is that?
Motion by Mr. Lewis and a second by
Oh, that
Mr.
house is
Bagno to
good.
revisit in 90 days.
That house
Is there any objection? No objection, motion carries.
Yes, you're
The
boarded
next
up
is
nice.
412 Bayard Street. What is your
My
recommendation?
recommendation for this one's gonna be 30 days. We've made contact with the owners, and they have bought a roofing permit to start fixing the roof. They just bought it this week. They just came in.
You said 30?
30
days.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Merrill,
That's all they need to do, is just.
They got some few rotten boards and stuff that we're gonna work with them on.
Yeah,
We're on top of it.
second by Mr. Bagnell. Any discussion, any objection? No objection, motion carries. Okay, and, Mr. Landry had a couple of things he wanted to present to you.
Okay. In your packet, you'll have a friendly reminder. Grass.
Yeah.
With the grass season approaching, we'd like to ask for your help with the complaints. Please review the city ordinance for weeds and noxious growth posted below. We ask that you verify the height of the grass on properties to be sure the violation is against the city ordinance prior to filling the complaint. This saves our office an abundance of time and the city a large amount of money in gasoline and pursuing complaints which have no merit. Also, in order to properly process your complaint, it is imperative that you file your complaint with the mayor's office at 369-2300. You will be contacted if we have any questions. Complaints are processed as they are received through the compliance software, and the more accurate the complaint, the more quickly the issue can be resolved. If I have a question, you don't need to call me. I want to go look at the property first. If I have a question, I will call you on the complaint, because then I'll have questions and I'll know what to ask you. So, go ahead.
The grass problems that we have been having as of last summer and the summer before with some of these constituents in these neighborhoods as far as the enforcing. Are we serious about this or not?
Oh, yeah.
Because we going into another season.
But the
and
problem
I'm getting
is,
tired of that, man.
the problem is, if they got one little patch of grass that's 12 inches,
Yes.
I'm not doing anything with
No,
it.
it's not no 12 inches. I'm talking about the stuff I was talking about that was way up here.
Yeah. Now, if it's a pasture, if it's over, look in your
18.
ordinance.
18
Yeah,
inches?
it's over 18 inches.
Yeah, but there's a lot size in the ordinance. It's a half acre. If it's below a half acre, it's 12 inches. That's a city lot. If it's bigger, it's 18 inches. So, you know, if the front yard's just bad and the backyard's not, we're not gonna process that. Because the majority of the yard is not 12 inches. Okay?
So you're saying 50% of the yard has to be 12 inches?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in all.
But that's true. But the ones I was calling on, it was like
Yeah.
front and backyard. Full.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
I just
Any
have,
questions, Mr. Lewis?
I just have one comment, because I turn in usually 80 to 100.
I know they come.
And my question is, I get as close to that address as I can, because some of them, you get on East Persian, they go from West Persian, from 515 to 527. So, from
Yeah.
515 to 527,
Right.
and you can't really,
If you know if there's a house next door,
sit to the left or right,
to the left or the right, facing the house.
okay. Like I do
520,
with people.
520 to the left, one or two lots down, you know. Get as specific as you can on that.
All right.
Because that makes it easier on us.
And the grass in the street and all of that too.
Well, that's part of the MS4 that the mayor, that y'all approved on the budget amendment. Some of that's coming down the pipe.
And they're not enforcing it though.
Okay, anything else?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Quick announcements. The next neighborhood watch for our District 4, Mr. Merrill, is Thursday, March 20th at 6 p.m. at the Slyman. And also, Mr. Bagnell's District 6 will be participating. The next city council meeting is on April 1st, and currently we are working with Bob and Chuck to put the council meetings on the city's website. And there'll be a link where you can click on the link, and you'll be able to view the council meetings YouTube. So,
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's gonna be Monday through Friday on?
Is that gonna cost us?
it'll be anytime, anytime,
Anytime.
anytime. No cost. Motion by
Another
Mr.
reality.
Dahl to adjourn and a second by Mr. Begno. Thank you.